showing on the one hand the democratic upbuilding of Finland and Soviet Russia's totalitarian aggression on the other. We propose to show you very briefly the truth about Finland, the truth which will triumph in the end. Up in the far north of Europe, 1/3 of it within the Arctic Circle, lies the lovely homeland of a people who are among the bravest in the world. Finland, the country of 1,000 lakes, now joins the sad company of nations martyred to feed the power lust of dictators. For 21 years, Helsinki was the stately capital of a democratic, freedom-loving people. In this fair city, Finnish architects nobly expressed the spirit of independence. For within the memory of all but the youngest people were the last years of Finland's thraldom under the heel of Tsarist Russia. From Russia, the Finns wrested their freedom at the sword point, prized freedom as only those do who have suffered tyranny. In Viipuri, too, the new freedom stimulated the constructive spirit. The 14th century castle looked down on a reawakened city. Indeed, from the Karelian Isthmus to Petsamo, Finland was a country reborn. On the land, livelihood of 60% of the population, the ploughs of newly freed farmers newly revealed the fertility of hundreds of square miles uncultivated in the days of Tsarist tyranny. Under the sun of freedom, a rejuvenated people awakened the bounty of nature in those northern wastes. Extensive tracts of marshland were drained. No longer the bondmen of Russia, the Finns discovered a blessing which belongs to free, democratic peoples, the dignity of labor. Profiting by the example of Scandinavian neighbors, Finnish farmers, most of them little more than smallholders, organized themselves on a cooperative basis for producing and selling. By that plan, they had the use of the best agricultural machinery. And as the whole country adopted the cooperative principle, capital flowed into the land to increase its fertility and make 10 ears of corn grow where one grew before. Nor was it private capital, burdening the farmer with an increasingly impossible mortgage. The cooperative farmers were financed by the cooperative banks, which in the last year of peace advanced £10 million to agriculture. The corn from cooperative farms was ground in cooperative mills. All through the country, in its industries as well as on the land, it was the cooperative principle by which Finland bounded ahead. There was no much vaunted 5-year plan, 4-year plan, no Stakhanov workers, no shock brigades, no forced labor. To democracy, freedom, and the cooperators of this independent people belongs the credit of Finland's amazing advance. Nearly 700 dairies thrive under cooperative control. Importing the finest breeds of cattle in the early years of independence, the Finnish farmers modeled their dairy industry on Danish lines. First-rate, highly vitamin milk and cream are the result. The country's unrivaled waterways go a long way towards solving the problem of cheap distribution. Her dairy produce being far more than she needs herself, Finland exports both cheese and butter. Her crop of rye was doubled in Finland's 20 years of independence. The yield of wheat was increased threefold. The butter output was trebled. 5 times as much cheese was produced. The number of independent farmers was multiplied 2.5 times. Next to the soil, the immense tracts of forest are the nation's greatest wealth. More than 100,000 workers earn their livelihood either in the forests themselves or in the wood, pulp, and paper industries. Here, as in agriculture, the people of Finland marched forward in those halcyon 20 years of independence. Enormously stimulated by their newly found freedom, the Finns hewed from these virgin forests the foundations of a timber industry which rapidly became immense. 40% of the country's forest land is state-owned. 50% is in the hands of smallholders. The rich landowning class and timber barons are an invention of the propaganda machine of Soviet Russia. Splendidly aiding the timber industry are the waterways by which the logs are floated down to the sawmills, paper and wood pulp factories of the river mouths. Timber and its products make up 80% of Finnish exports, despite the fact that by far the greater part of the total output must remain in the country, as most buildings in Finland are wooden and the wood is the chief fuel. At the mills, the logs are sawn for shipment abroad. In the last year of peace, Finland exported 165 million cubic feet of high-grade timber. Independent Finland increased the sawmill output fivefold. Cellulose products were 15 times greater. Paper output has been quadrupled. Transport, crude and inadequate 20 years ago, was rapidly modernized when Finland won independence. Linking the natural waterways of the interior with the southern harbors, first-class roads bore abundant heavy traffic, and when the trucks of Finland's new transport brought cargoes to the docks, the goods were transferred to the ships of the Finnish mercantile marine. In 1938, 40% of all Finnish seaborne commerce was carried in her own ships, as against 17% in 1928. Increasing the union membership from 1,000 to 3,500 between 1935 and 1938, Finnish seamen are now 90% organized. Into the holds of Finnish vessels went the timber that was exported to many parts of the world. Organized seamen manned the ships, members of a union affiliated to the International Transport Workers' Federation. Under its democratic government, Finland brought its train service up to date, overcoming well-nigh insuperable difficulties in Arctic terrain. The actual mileage of railways has almost been doubled. Finnish locomotives run on Finnish wood. Supplementing the railways is the state-owned bus service, connecting remote villages with main lines. If in the country districts of Britain buses are now indispensable transport, how much more so must they be in Finland, where lakes and forests make the network of railways out of the question. There are now 15 times more buses on the road than there were 20 years ago. 200,000 men and women, 17% of the laboring population, work in industry. The textile industry, with Tampere as main center, is second in importance to the timber industry. The political labor movement plays an important part in Finland. In the last parliamentary elections in July 1939, the Social Democrats polled over 500,000 votes, or 40% of the total. The leader of the Socialist Party, Tanner, who is now Minister for National Welfare in the new cabinet, is also leader of the Finnish cooperative movement and president of the Cooperative International. Lacking her own coalfields, Finland perceived in her abundant waterways a natural means of generating electric power. Here again, Finnish pent-up energy, set free when she became independent, was profitably turned into the channels of water power, the white coal by which the dynamo and electric motor drive the humming, modern, clean machinery of the new factories. Well on the way is Finnish water power towards harnessing the whole 2 million horsepower, estimated to be developed by the roaring waterfalls of this well-favored country. It was naturally in the capital, Helsinki, that Finland chiefly expressed in architecture the idea of a new nation based on democratic freedom. The ancient city was transformed.